Welcome to the Tradies in Business podcast with your hosts Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Divert your phone and grab a brew as Waz and Nick unpack tips, tales, secrets and stuff-ups from guests both inside and outside your trade, helping educate and inspire you to break the cycle of gut-busting and money stress and create a true trade business.
Good morning, Technotard.
I know. I stuffed it.
Look at the size of my worm.
My worm's bigger than your worm. Mine is actually exploding outside of the parameters.
Now you're just bragging.
Well, I never get to brag, so I'm going to brag this time.
But you look how massive mine is.
I'm going to take a photo of mine because mine's bigger than yours.
You text me a photo of yours and I'll text you a photo of mine.
I bet they're the same but different.
Good morning and happy Hump Day, listeners.
Hence we're talking about worms.
If you've got kitties in the house or the car, I'm really sorry for what Coxie did. See, there's a photo of my worm.
It was innuendo. I wasn't particularly rude.
Ah, you see, your worm's big at your end
Yes.
and my worm's big at my end.
Right, my worm is enormous.
That's interesting.
Oh,
So
your
it's all
worm's
about
very big too.
It's all about perspective.
We have big worms.
All right. So in case you have no freaking idea what Coxie and I are on about, that's probably not unusual. Welcome to the Tradies in Business TradieRonaCast podcast with Waz and Nick comparing worm sizes, because I live in another country called Tasmania, according to my 8.5-year-old daughter, and we use this fandangled cloud-based podcast recording gear that means Coxie and I no longer have to be in the same room. Thank goodness. And we can create the podcast as though we're in the studio together, and you don't even know the difference, listeners.
Which is pretty handy considering we're now coming to you daily.
Yes, otherwise it would have
imagine
been a monumental pain in the arse.
We would just be on the plane all the time, every day, up, down, up, down,
Well,
up, down.
we'd just have to stay on the plane because you're not allowed to get off anywhere, because then
That's
you've got to do 14 days of quarantine, and Virgin's going broke anyway.
That's
so we
right.
wouldn't
So
have
it's
been able
not
to fly.
happening. I won't see you
And
this year. You watch.
Flights are all going to triple in price.
We
now
have
that
big plans for a
competition's
stadium
removed.
tour this year. That's gone by
know.
the wayside.
We'll have to do a virtual stadium
It's
tour.
not the same.
No. Maybe you'll have to do the mainland and I'll have to do Tassie.
Your other country. I think yours will be a quick tour.
You do Australia and I'll do Tasmania.
Okay. Well, we were going to go to New Zealand too, weren't we? Weren't we looking at heading over the ditch?
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking forward to going back to New Zealand.
I love it. I've not been to the North Island though, only the South.
Ah, I've done a bit of both. Not a lot, but a little bit. I think I did a 10-day driving thing.
Oh, I did similar.
Yeah, it was cool.
I did.
It was very cool.
Honeymoon there for 2 weeks, and then back. My stepmother was from New Zealand, and we took her ashes home. So we did a big tour with Dad and my brother.
Yeah,
that
right.
was a barrel of laughs. For I think 10 days when we took her ashes.
Slight bit of sarcasm there, Coxie.
Oh, it was all right for the first day.
That's great.
Oh.
'Cause that's like saying, yeah, my marriage was really good for the first month.
Yeah, that's about right.
Anyway, what are we talking about today, Coxie, apart from worm sizes and technology?
It's Hump Day.
It's Hump Day. Hump Day is a bit of a fluff day for us.
It is a bit of a fluff day for us.
Well, in terms of generally, I think we seem to roll into Hump Day episodes without much of a plan, which is even less than we normally have on the Tradies in Business TradieRonaCast podcast. But we had a cracking real tradie story yesterday. So if you haven't listened to yesterday's episode, you really should go and do that. Don't be put off by the length of it.
No.
Said the actress to the bishop. It's a cracking real tradie story, or maybe the bishop to the actress.
Yes.
But Hump Day, a bit of innuendo for you. Technology. We should talk about technology, Coxie.
That's what we're going to talk about because I broke it before we started.
you
I'm pretty
used
good
your
at breaking
sexy
things.
fingers
Yes.
to make a meal of the recording thing. But
I stuffed it.
I think there would be a lot of listeners struggling with some same issues of trying to get the tech to cooperate so we can run our businesses and our lives. How many parents have struggled with the school from home stuff?
Oh my goodness. I was actually talking to my neighbour across the street after our Anzac thing on the weekend, and she was saying that her son-in-law is spending 5 hours a day with his prep student, trying to educate the prep student. And I'm like,
what the heck are
really?
they teaching?
You have to spend 5 hours teaching that content? I don't understand. No wonder parents are stressed.
For prep?
5 hours for one child. They've got two
I thought
kids.
Prep was about how to cut an apple and
Yes.
how to wipe your bottom properly.
Pretty well. Things have obviously changed since our kids were that age, but
Maybe that's what's wrong with me. That was all I got taught.
as long as you do those two things, you're pretty successful, I would think. But no, 5 hours. I probably have been a little oblivious to how much effort parents are having to, or are being expected to put in, or expecting themselves to put in. I'm not sure which way this story actually leans, but I know for my teen, he's quite self-sufficient. Everything's there online. It's very easy for him to find it. But 5 hours for a preppy per day, that's a lot of time.
Wowza. And I think it does highlight some of our reliance on technology or dependency on technology, because I mean, even me, right? We record this podcast virtually, and everything happens online for our business. And my internet is challenging, to say the least.
What internet?
Yeah, well, that's right. I can see the NBN box on the wall.
Oh, gosh.
But I can't use the damn thing. And, I'll refrain from ranting about Telstra. Whoops,
now.
I just did.
For now.
But there you go, right? Telstra's screwed because they, like a lot of big companies these days, outsourced a lot of their functions to international workers and, offshore call centers, which, whatever your beliefs are about that doesn't really matter. The fact is they did. And because of all of the lockdowns in some of the other countries where, they're militarily enforced, people can't leave home and all that sort of stuff, they've lost like most of their workforce. And so you can't actually relocate your internet connection in Australia because they don't have any of those teams working anymore.
It's crazy, isn't it?
So I can't get internet. I moved house. It's like, oh yeah, sorry, we can't actually shift your connection. So the solution is keep paying for the old connection that you no longer have, because we can't stop the billing either because we don't know how to use that system, and sign up for a new one and pay double.
Have they offered to reimburse you for the extra you're paying?
Well, I was given an assurance by the Australian guy working from home
Wow.
that he had made lots of notes on my file and would basically credit me back for the double up after this is all over and they can actually communicate with me properly. But it's a bit of a punt. Hang on, I wasn't going to rant. I'm not ranting about Telstra, actually. I'm just highlighting I think some of the frailties of our systems.
I don't think we've ever had an opportunity quite like this one to have a look at how we do business and how that needs to change. And we've spoken about this so many times now. This can be such a positive change in our business if we decide it's going to be. And it's giving us all an opportunity to think about ways in which we can future-proof, ways in which we can pivot, or just change up the little things that we do every day, whether it be the way we communicate or the way we do a quote or the way that we deliver a presentation about whatever the job might be that we're about to do or we have done, or grab a review or speak to our client. There's plenty of opportunity for us to shift the way we've traditionally done those things, because we're in this position right now where we kind of have to. I think it's actually a positive.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, there's a lot of hard lessons being learned in all of this, and mine is one of them. It's like, wow, I've really become heavily reliant on someone else's system to run my business.
And to a large extent, there's no way to change that except to have a backup plan, I suppose. When it comes to the internet, there's no way to change that. And interestingly, we've just come off the back of my challenging internet issues in Brisbane. I've moved back to the Switch and I've got no problems with my internet. You had perfect internet in Toowoomba, and now we've gone back to, it's like me being in Brisbane again. The
This is
internet's
punishment
challenging.
for me taking the piss out of you.
It is.
Times.
It is. About time. But yeah, no, it's some of it we can't change. Some of it we are reliant on others, but we can have backup plans, I suppose, in place. And now more than ever, we're learning to live without things, without stuff to trim what we need to trim so that we've got the budget to do what we need to do, to have a backup plan or another way to do things in case it all changes. These changes can be really positive in our business space moving forward. We just need to embrace this opportunity that we have at the moment, which is all changing in Queensland on the weekend. And I might mention that every single time we talk this week.
Yeah, that's your opportunity to rub it in.
Well, I don't live on a farm with cows and chickens. I live in a small suburban block. Not small, it's a good-sized block, but, it's not large. And I am ready for a visitor. I just want to get Dad off the phone whinging. He can come whinge in person.
He can come and whinge at you and spit on you and stuff. Personally.
The truth is, he'll be so much happier when he can just sit down and eat my roast chicken. He just needs to get out of his house, poor bugger.
I can imagine that would be pretty shit for a lot of people.
I think it's been a terrible time. So a little relaxing of the rules so that we can get out, meet a friend for a coffee at the park. Sounds really great. There's another positive, the reconnection of relationships that many of us have been too busy to take the time to have. I don't go out for coffee or drinks with my girlfriends very often. I don't have time. You can't see my air quotes. But I will make time now that we're able, or once we're able to again.
Yes. And I'm probably slightly different because I'm happy not to leave my farm.
Yes.
Because it's quite lovely here. And I'm probably one of those people that, some of those memes were made about where it's like social distancing. I've been practicing that for 20 years. Because not big on the old social stuff. I think largely because you and I are so connected to so many people so much that I actually really value my breaks from humans.
Yes.
But yeah, for a lot of people, it's been very tough actually, and it'll be interesting to see in Queensland if it goes well.
I guess we won't know for 2 weeks to a month, really, will we? It'll be really
I know, that's the problem, isn't it? And this is what a lot of the commentators have been saying is, if we break too early, it could create another spike and then we'll have to go into a harder lockdown for longer.
But then we've got this whole herd immunity thing that needs to be explored, and I feel like we're the test pilots for that. I really do. I think that's what's happening here.
Well, thanks for being a crash test dummy, Coxie, up
I'm
there
happy
in
to
Queensland.
do that for you. I'll take one for the team.
And I won't mention the app.
No. Not after my rant. No, probably not a good idea.
No. Anyway, I don't even know what we talked about in our Hump Day episode today. So I want to talk about something, Coxie, which is reviews.
Please.
iTunes reviews. Come on, gang. We've had 2, which means we've got 2 listeners who take action. But if you have found the podcast useful in any way, even if it's to annoy the neighbours and get them to stop playing their loud music by cranking up Woz and Nick.
I love that idea.
You could have loud music battles. Imagine cranking us up at 11:37 p.m. at full volume on your boombox.
Just make sure
Just
it's a
to piss your
resi
neighbours
episode
off.
so they're a
Yeah.
bit elevated and loud.
Pick out one of the little E ones, the explicit ones.
Yes. Yeah, I love that idea.
And you might stop your neighbours from playing loud music. It's like, you know what? Turn your music down or I'm going to do that again.
I have a funny story about that. I'm going to tell it. When I was much younger, we had a great sound system that I enjoyed listening to frequently. But when the I'm not going to name them, but said religious groups would start to approach and do the door knocking, we would play, that clip out of Pulp Fiction with the gunfire? We'd just stick that on really loud as they started to step onto the property, and without fail, they would back away very quickly.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
There you are.
I can do that with real guns here in Tasmania.
Well, you can.
With all the other hillbillies, apparently.
You can.
That's what people think about down here. Hey, it's funny. We're learning some of the truths about Tassie and the weather, the stories about the weather.
I see you as a sophisticated cousin to Australia, even though you're the same country. But I kind of think of Tasmania like I think about the Hunter region or the wine region in Adelaide. I think there's probably really good food, some fantastic wines, beautiful scenery. A bit like New Zealand, I suppose. That's how I think about Tasmania. Not having ever been there, not likely to get there this year, unfortunately, despite our many planned trips where we were going to get together.
Yes.
Next year.
Next year. That's interesting because you hear a lot of stories about Tassie being backward and all that sort of stuff. And it's true anywhere in Australia, really, depending where you go and which people you associate with. But largely, the people down here, there's a real sense of community here in Tassie that I haven't experienced for a while. And it could just be because we've gone from living in town on the mainland to living in the country down here. And I've lived in the country on the mainland before and have always felt more sense of community there than living in town. But it has really stuck out down here.
Interesting.
Just people going out of their way to be helpful and kind and getting random invites to people's houses for a cup of tea up in the hills. They wanted to play banjos or something. But anyway, I'm rambling and today's meant to be a quickie.
Quickie on Hump Day.
Is there anything we want people to do other than give us an iTunes review?
Come and join us in the trade desk as usual. Tradies for Tradie. You can get the first Tradies for Tradies, number 4. Let me say it clearly so everybody knows you can have the first month free, or come and hang out in our big free group where there's 1,600 other very cool trade business owners kicking about, sharing their opinions, occasionally disagreeing, not very often. Mostly they're just kind and helpful and love one another. Come and join us. Have some fun with us somewhere online. You choose where. We're not fussy.
Yeah, get involved. Just get involved with us and the gang somehow, because we guarantee you'll get something out of it, or some of your money back, depending on how much you paid. That wasn't a very conditional guarantee at all, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Anyway, thanks heaps for listening. Hope you have a great hump day. Join us for a drink on Friday if you want to hang out online at our virtual tradie bar.
You got loose after you left last week.
Oh, okay. So I didn't kick everybody off when I hung up?
No, you didn't actually. That worked out well.
Awesome. Because I thought, oh, geez, I hope I didn't just hang up on like 8 people or whoever was still hanging around drinking. So
I did pre-position everyone. It might cut us all off, but you didn't. So I think next week...
I'm not as important as I thought.
No, not on the Zoom call. We have this week, coming up this Friday, 2 days' time, we will have Lydia from Bar Autos. Have I said that right?
Yes.
A previous podcast guest is actually going to give us a tour of her workshop.
Oh, I like it.
That's cool, hey?
Friday drinks and we tour someone's biz.
Yes. And then I think Amy's coming this week with her husband and kids for some background music, or we'll just have a headbanging session, I think.
I could give you some live music, but I don't think it'd be very good.
No, we want to listen to
You wouldn't have many
music.
people staying on the call. You'd have to drink a lot before I start singing.
We'll send around a virtual shot first.
Anyway, thanks for joining us on Hump Day. Have a cracker.
Day.
And we'll see you again tomorrow.
Bye.
Hooroo.
You've been listening to the Tradies in Business podcast with Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Find out more about today's guest, tools for your trade business, and other cool stuff at tradiesinbusiness.com.au.